The last box of research notes felt heavier than the others as I carried it out of my lab at Preston University. 7 years of work, 3 promising drug candidates, and a revolutionary approach to targeting treatment-resistant cancers, all supposedly worthless according to Dean Robert Harrison and his new strategic direction for the medical school. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen, and I'd just been forced out of the research institution I'd helped put on the map. But what the dean and his pharmaceutical company partners didn't know was that I'd seen this coming. In academia, after all, the real power isn't in administrative decisions, it's in the data. Need help with that box, Dr. Chen? Carlos, my most promising graduate student, appeared at my side. His eyes were red from crying, but his voice was steady. The dean's decision had scattered my research team to other labs across campus. No thanks, Carlos. But remember what we discussed about those cell culture protocols? I gave him a meaningful look. He nodded slightly, understanding. For the past 3 months, we'd been documenting everything, securing data in ways the university couldn't touch. Such a shame about your failed research line, Dean Harrison's voice echoed down the hallway. He stood in his perfectly tailored suit, watching my evacuation with barely concealed satisfaction. But Meridian Pharmaceutical's new research center will put Preston on the map. Sometimes we have to cut dead weight to move forward. I carefully set down the box, thinking about the conversation I'd overheard at last month's fundraising gala. Harrison with Meridian's CO. Chen's approach will revolutionize cancer treatment, but she's too focused on accessibility. Wants to keep the patents public, can you believe it? Once we shut down her lab, we can redirect her research through proper commercial channels. The research isn't failed, I said quietly, watching other faculty members trying not to stare. Colleagues I'd worked with for years, now afraid to be associated with me. It's just not designed for profit. He laughed. Please. We've reviewed all your data, every experiment, every result. The university owns everything you've done here. Face it, Sarah, you're finished in academic research. What he didn't know was that the complete data he was so confident about was carefully curated. The real breakthroughs, the most promising results, were documented in ways that would only become clear when revealed at exactly the right moment. Good luck with Meridian's research center, I said, picking up my box. I'm sure it will be very profitable. The security guard Mike, who'd watched over my late-night experiments for years, looked apologetic as he took my badge. This isn't right, Dr. Chen. Your cancer research. It saved my sister's life in that trial last year. I smiled, thinking of the dozens of patients who'd benefited from our early trials. Sometimes the most valuable discoveries aren't the ones that make the most money. Outside, Preston's Gothic buildings loomed against the autumn sky. Students hurried between classes, unaware that their university was choosing corporate profits over public health research. I'd been part of this academic world for 15 years. But never on this side of betrayal. My phone buzzed, a message from Dr. Maria Santos at the National Institutes of Health. Just heard about Preston. Monthly review panel still on. Proceeding as planned, I typed back. Is everything ready? All set. But Sarah, are you sure about this? Once Nature publishes. I thought about the true implications of what we'd discovered, not just a new cancer treatment, but a whole new approach to drug development. One that could either make treatment accessible to millions or become another overpriced miracle drug, depending on who controlled it. They think they're getting a breakthrough drug, I replied. They don't realize they're getting a revolution in medical research. The next few weeks were a carefully orchestrated performance. During the day, I played the part of the disgraced researcher, making just enough noise to keep Harrison and Meridian focused on their corporate plans. Meanwhile, a network of collaborators I'd spent months organizing moved into position. Dr. James Wong, my former postdoc who now worked at a major research hospital, sent regular updates. Meridian's trying to reproduce your results using the documented protocols. Running into unexpected complications. Of course they were. The elegant simplicity of our published methods hid layers of critical details that only revealed themselves when you understood the underlying principles. Every attempt to rush the research into profitable patents would trigger cascading failures. How long before they figure it out? He asked during one of our secure video calls. They won't, I said, watching data scroll across my home computer screen. Harrison understands academic politics, but he never bothered to really understand the science. He thinks medical research is about patents and profits. He doesn't get that it's about methodology and reproducibility. I spent my days setting up a small biotech consulting firm, a cover story for my real activities. But at night, I coordinated with researchers around the world, each holding pieces of a puzzle that would only make sense when revealed together. 20 days after my forced exit, the first cracks appeared. Meridian's preliminary trials showed inconsistent results. Technical validation issues, their report to shareholders claimed. Their stock dropped 10%. They're trying to brute force the protocols, Carlos reported. 2 postdocs quit yesterday. The cell lines aren't responding like they expect. I thought about the elegant molecular pathways we'd discovered, how they required precision and patience rather than corporate timelines. Like trying to rush photosynthesis, they were fighting against biological principles they didn't even understand. 2 weeks later, Harrison called. I let it go to voicemail. Look, Sarah. His voice tried for professional courtesy but couldn't hide the strain. Perhaps we were hasty. The research line is showing promise, but we're seeing some reproducibility issues. We could use your insight. As a consultant, of course. Very well compensated. I didn't call back. Instead, I sent a message to our international research network, the real power behind what we'd discovered. Final data analysis proceeding. Nature publication on schedule. The response was immediate. Scientists at universities and research hospitals worldwide, all of them had been silently replicating and extending our work, building a body of evidence that would be impossible to suppress or control. 5 days before Nature's publication date, I received an unexpected visitor. Patricia Morgan, the lead investor behind Meridian's research center, stood at my home office door. We need to talk, she said, her usual corporate confidence replaced by genuine concern. These results. There's more to them than what's in the university records, isn't there? I gestured for her to sit. Finally asking the right questions, Patricia? She placed a thick folder on my desk, clinical data, trial results, market projections. We're getting inconsistent results. The protocols seem straightforward, but something's missing. Harrison swears he can sort it out, but the more you rush it, the less it works, I finished. Almost like it was designed to require patience and precision. What do you want? She asked directly. Name your price to fix this. I leaned back, thinking about all the nights I'd spent developing treatments that could help millions, while Harrison had plotted to turn them into luxury medicines for the few. I don't want money, I said quietly. I want the research to be public. Not for me, for everyone. The patents become open source. The protocols published in full. And Harrison steps down. That's billions in potential revenue you're talking about giving away. No, I corrected her. That's billions in human value I'm talking about protecting. You just can't see it yet. She left without agreeing, but I knew she'd be back. The numbers in her folder told a clear story, one that would only get worse when Nature published our full results. 3 days before publication, I sat in my home office, watching the sunset through autumn leaves. My phone was filled with messages from former colleagues, other researchers, even pharmaceutical companies, all sensing that something big was about to happen. James's message caught my eye. Harrison just called an emergency board meeting for the morning of publication. He claims he's found a way to expedite the research timeline. I smiled, thinking of the elegant complexity waiting in our complete protocols. Sometimes the best breakthroughs aren't forced. They're revealed through careful, methodical science that puts patience before profits. Publication day was coming. And with it, a lesson about the true nature of medical research, scientific integrity, and the future of drug development. Publication day arrived with a cold autumn rain that seemed fitting for what was about to unfold. I sat in my home office, watching the digital clock tick toward 9 a.m. London time, when Nature would release its latest issue. Patricia Morgan had called late last night. Whatever you've done with this research, it's bigger than we thought. Harrison's about to make a serious mistake. Be at Preston by 10 a.m. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for their main conference room, the one where, 7 years ago, I'd first presented my radical approach to targeting treatment-resistant cancers. Now I would return not as a disgraced researcher, but as the lead author of Nature's cover story. At exactly 9 a.m. London time, 4 a.m. in California, my phone exploded with notifications. The article was live. Novel molecular pathway shows promise for universal cancer treatment access. Within minutes, science journalists worldwide were reporting on our results. I arrived at Preston to find the campus in chaos. News vans lined the streets. Reporters called out questions. Inside, the administration building hummed with tension, executives in crisis mode, PR teams scrambling, researchers huddled over computers reading the paper. Harrison looked like he hadn't slept in days as I entered the boardroom. "This is impossible," he muttered, staring at printouts of our data. "We have your entire research record. Every experiment, every trial." "No," I said calmly, taking my seat. "You have what I chose to leave in the university's records. The real breakthroughs were documented elsewhere, replicated by independent labs worldwide. Did you even notice that the paper has 37 co-authors from 15 different countries?" The room was packed. Board members, Meridian executives, university lawyers, and most tellingly representatives from major research hospitals and the NIH. On screens around the room, the Nature paper's figures told the story Harrison had tried to bury. "As you can see," I continued, pointing to the key data, "our approach doesn't just target cancer cells, it fundamentally changes how we think about drug development. The molecular pathway we discovered isn't a single treatment. It's a new framework for creating accessible, affordable cancer therapies." One by one, my co-authors began appearing on video feeds, researchers from Oxford, Tokyo, Stanford, Delhi. Each had independently verified our results, extended the findings, and contributed to a body of evidence that was now impossible to suppress. "The protocols you've been struggling with?" I explained. "They're incomplete without understanding the underlying principles we're publishing today. You can't rush this science or lock it behind patents. It requires global collaboration, careful validation, and complete transparency." Harrison stood up shakily. "The university owns all research conducted in its facilities. This publication is unauthorized. Actually," Maria Santos's voice cut in from the NIH video feed, "Dr. Chen's key discoveries were made through a multi-institutional collaboration funded by federal grants. The intellectual property is already in the public domain." The next hour was scientific vindication at its finest. Our paper didn't just present a cancer treatment breakthrough, it demonstrated a new model for medical research itself. One based on open science, global collaboration, and putting patient access first. "The molecular pathway you've been trying to patent?" I explained to the stunned Meridian executives. "It's not a product to be owned. It's a process that only works when shared. Every attempt to rush it or restrict it will fail because the science itself demands transparency." Patricia Morgan, looking shell-shocked at the implications, finally asked the key question, "How do we move forward from here?" "Preston has two choices," I replied. "Continue chasing private patents that won't work, or become a leader in the new era of open science we're launching today. Your research center can still be built, but as a hub for global collaboration, not corporate control." The board's vote was unanimous, though not from choice. The paper had already sparked a revolution in cancer research. Universities worldwide were pledging to adopt our open science model. Major foundations were offering funding. Even pharmaceutical companies were realizing that collaboration might be more profitable than competition. Harrison resigned that afternoon. The board appointed Dr. James Wong as interim dean, with a mandate to restructure Preston's research program around open science principles. Carlos and our scattered research team were reinstated, now as part of a growing international collaboration. 1 year later, I stood in my rebuilt lab addressing a different kind of meeting. Instead of corporate executives, the room was filled with researchers from around the world, our first Open Science Summit. "Medical breakthroughs don't happen in isolation," I told them. "They emerge from sharing knowledge, challenging assumptions, and putting patients before profits. What we're building here isn't just a treatment, it's a new way of conducting science itself." The research had evolved beyond anything I could have developed alone. Teams worldwide had extended our findings, discovered new applications, and improved the protocols, all while maintaining the core principle of open access. Last week, a young PhD student asked me why I'd structured the research to require global collaboration. I showed her our new lab motto etched in glass: "Science serves humanity." The real breakthrough, I explained, wasn't just in the molecular pathway. It was in proving that medical research works best when it can't be controlled or contained. Sometimes the best way to advance science is to share it, but share it so cleverly that it can never be locked away. Patricia Morgan, who had become one of our strongest advocates for open science, joined me for coffee recently. "You know what Harrison never understood?" she mused. "The billions he wanted to make by patenting your discovery, we're generating more value by sharing it. True innovation isn't in ownership, it's in impact." He was right. Preston's research funding had quadrupled, not despite giving away our discoveries but because of it. We'd become a global leader in collaborative medical research, and that attracted more support than any patent portfolio. The molecular pathway itself has revolutionized cancer treatment. Hospitals worldwide are reporting unprecedented success rates, and because we kept the science open, the treatments remain affordable and accessible. But the bigger impact has been on how medical research is conducted. Every morning when I walk into my lab, I see teams of researchers from different countries, institutions, and backgrounds working together. The walls that once divided us, institutional, commercial, national, have been replaced by bridges of collaboration. Harrison, last I heard, he was trying to launch a private biotech venture, but researchers and investors tended to avoid anything with his name attached. The era of secretive, profit-driven medical research was ending. In the end, the greatest victory wasn't in proving Harrison wrong, it was in proving that science itself works best when it serves everyone. The treatments we developed remained accessible, the research community grew stronger, and the vision of open science became reality. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in destroying what others try to steal, it's in creating something they can never own. That's a lesson the medical research world is still learning, one breakthrough at a time. 2 weeks ago, I received a letter from a mother in India. Her daughter had been successfully treated using our protocol at a local hospital. "Thank you for making this accessible to everyone," she wrote. "You've given us something priceless, hope." That letter now hangs in our lab, reminding us that the true value of science isn't measured in patents or profits, but in lives improved and hope restored. It's a different kind of impact than Harrison envisioned, but it's the one that truly puts universities on the map. After all, the most powerful discoveries aren't the ones we keep for ourselves, they're the ones we share with the world.